Here we are at Belief 19, the last one. It's been a long journey, but I'll bet it's been worth it. By now you probably are very aware of many changes in your life. But the basic problem, lack of self-confidence and the need to be accepted by others, may not yet be totally gone. You may or may not have this belief, although you almost certainly have some of the conditionings that will follow. To make sure you eliminate all the beliefs you actually do have, please check the first few minutes of this belief. If you have this belief, use the program to eliminate it. If you don't have it, just skip to the first conditioning. In any case, I promise you that your lack of self-confidence and your concern with the opinion of others will be totally gone by the time you're done with this program. Please continue to answer each question out loud to make sure the belief is eliminated. This belief, it's dangerous to have people focus on me, isn't as common as many of the ones you've eliminated so far. But it is one that a large number of people hold. And it's one of the beliefs that generally underlies the fear of speaking up for oneself and asking for what one wants. It also underlies social anxiety, which is anxiety that occurs even in one-on-one conversations or meeting new people. Also, this belief can be stated in different ways. The most common is, it's dangerous to have people focus on me. But some people believe something will go wrong if people focus on me. And some people change the second part of the belief to pay attention to me. I'll use the most common statement during this process, but you find the words that feel most right for you. And whenever I say, it's dangerous to have people focus on me, you substitute the words that feel best for you. Okay? Here are a few ways to know if you have this belief. Do you get anxious when you speak to individuals at a party or a business meeting? Do you feel uncomfortable when you meet new people? Do you get nervous when you're the center of attention and everyone's looking at you? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you probably have this belief. Ultimately, the way to know if you have this belief is the same way to know if you have any belief. Say the words out loud and pause for a moment. If the words feel true or produce a negative feeling, even a small one, you have the belief. Try it right now. Please say out loud your version of the words, it's dangerous to have people focus on me, and then be still for a moment. Does it feel true or negative at all? If it does, you have the belief. You now know what it feels like to say these words when you have the belief. You'll say the same words out loud at the end of the process, and will experience what the same words feel like when you no longer believe the statement. Okay then, let's get rid of, it's dangerous to have people focus on me. If you're absolutely certain that you don't have this belief, please click Next Conditioning and proceed to the first conditioning. My voice will now stop so you can write down your version of this belief in the text box on your computer monitor. Click Continue when you're ready to continue with the process to eliminate the belief. The next step to eliminate a belief is to figure out when you formed it. Most of our beliefs, certainly almost all of our self-esteem beliefs, and including this belief, were formed from events involving your parents that occurred when you were a very young child. In most cases, this belief is formed when parents pay a lot more attention to their children when they're dissatisfied with their children's behavior than when the parents are satisfied. When parents are dissatisfied with their children, their emotional state usually ranges from anger to annoyance, and frequently includes some form of punishment. As we saw when working on the last couple of beliefs, and I'm not important, in many households parents don't give their children much positive attention. But when their children don't follow instructions, they give their children full negative attention. Sometimes there's even physical violence or abuse. If most of the time when your parents were really paying attention to you, they also were angry at you and yelled or punished you, you would have experienced fear. What conclusion would you reach if this scenario were repeated many times? It's dangerous for people to focus on me or pay attention to me. Now take a look at your early life and see where the belief, it's dangerous to have people focus on me, comes from for you. Then type into the text box on the screen the type of things your parents did and said in your childhood that led you to form this belief. It's dangerous to have people focus on me. Rather than writing down how you felt, describe the actual situations, what your parents actually said and did, such as, most of the time when my parents paid real attention to me, they were angry at me. Take the time you need because this is important. When you're done writing, click Continue. Now, the program will pause. Look at the events you've written down. Is it real to you that the conclusion you reached, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me," is a valid interpretation of those events? Can you agree that virtually any child at that age and in those situations would have reached a similar conclusion? Now we're going to play the possibilities game. We'll imagine that 4 friends of yours are visiting you and looking at a videotape of the events you just wrote down. Your interpretation of those events when you were a child was, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me." That is one valid interpretation of Mom and Dad's behavior. That interpretation wasn't wrong, but there are other reasonable interpretations of the same childhood events that you didn't think of as a child. So let's ask each of your friends for another alternative interpretation. Can you see that one friend might well say, "It's dangerous if my parents focus on me or pay attention to me. I don't know that it would be dangerous if anyone else did." Couldn't the events in your childhood be explained by this interpretation, just as well as your interpretation, that it's dangerous to have people focus on me? Here's what your second friend says. "The danger didn't come from someone paying attention to me or focusing on me. It came from my parents' behavior when they paid attention to me. Merely having someone paying attention to me wasn't dangerous." Doesn't this interpretation also explain those events in your childhood, just as well as your interpretation, that it's dangerous to have people focus on me? Here's a third possible interpretation of your childhood events that one of your friends suggests. "It was dangerous if people paid attention to me or focused on me when I was a child and couldn't defend myself. If I'm older and I can defend myself or leave the situation, there might not be any danger." Doesn't this interpretation also explain those events in your childhood, just as well as your interpretation, that it's dangerous to have people focus on me? Here's another interpretation from your fourth friend. "Even if your parents spanked you, it might have hurt and been scary, but you never were in any real danger from them." Couldn't any one of these interpretations explain your childhood interactions with your parents just as well as your interpretation, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me"? Of course they can. So is it real to you that a belief you've lived with almost your entire life, something you thought was a fact, is not a fact, isn't the truth at all? It's only a truth, merely one interpretation of many possible interpretations of earlier events, right? With a little help from me and your friends, you can see that the fact that most of the time when you really got your parents' attention and they were dissatisfied or angry at you could have at least 4 different reasonable interpretations or meanings. Do you remember what you wrote down a few minutes ago as the source of your belief, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me"? Look at the text box below on your screen. Right now, imagine seeing what you saw then and hearing what you heard then. Now take a few minutes and really imagine the events of your childhood that led you to forming the belief, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me." Didn't it seem when you were a child as if you could actually see, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me" in those early events with your parents? It did, didn't it? You may have the sense that you didn't see the belief, you felt it. Once you formed the belief, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me," you probably did feel it. I'll get back to the feeling in a minute, but what I'd like you to focus on now is not the feeling, but on my question. When your parents' attention was usually accompanied with anger or annoyance, didn't it seem as if you saw, "It's dangerous to have people focus on me"? As if you could point to it? As if you could have said to me, "Morty, can't you see it's dangerous to have people focus on me"? I didn't hear you. Did you say yes? Now that you think you saw "It's dangerous to have people focus on me" as a child, I'd like you to look again. Did you really see it's dangerous to have people focus on me? If you did, what does it's dangerous to have people focus on me look like? Could you really point to it? Does it's dangerous to have people focus on me have a color, a shape, location? Is it real to you now that you saw events but never really did see it's dangerous to have people focus on me? If anything you can really see can be described, and if you can't describe what it's dangerous to have people focus on me looks like, is it clear now that you never really saw it? Since you never really saw it's dangerous to have people focus on me, what did you actually see? Is it clear now all you really saw was your parents, or possibly someone else, focus on you in a way that scared you as a child? In other words, all you really saw was a series of events. What happened was that you looked at a series of events that can be interpreted in many different ways. You gave the events one meaning, which was it's dangerous to have people focus on me. By attributing that specific meaning to the events, each time your parents' attention on you was accompanied by annoyance or anger, it was as if you could see that meaning in those situations. But you didn't discover the meaning in the events, you gave the meaning to the events. They had no meaning before you created one. Is it real now that the events had no meaning until you gave one to them? I'm not saying the events didn't have consequences, I'm certain they did. But do they have any meaning about you or people or life? Here's another way to understand that events have no inherent meaning. What do you know for sure about what will happen when people focus on you in the future as a result of having these childhood experiences with your parents? All you know for sure is what actually happened. Most of the time, when you really got your parents' attention, they were angry at you and perhaps punished you. And finally, if you never saw it's dangerous to have people focus on me out there in the world, where has it been all these years? Did I hear you say that it's dangerous to have people focus on me has only ever existed in your mind? That you never did see it out there in the world? That's right. Now, if the belief is more real to you as a feeling than as a concept, here's another way to look at it. Didn't it seem as if your parents' anger when they were giving you their full attention when you were a child made you feel it's dangerous to have people focus on me? But you just agreed that the events have no meaning. Is it possible for events that have no meaning to make you feel it's dangerous to have people focus on me, or anything else for that matter? Of course not. I'm not saying you wouldn't have felt fear in those circumstances, but you wouldn't have felt it's dangerous for people to focus on me. So if the fact that your parents were usually annoyed or angry at you when you were able to get their full attention couldn't have made you feel it's dangerous to have people focus on me, what did make you feel that? By now, I think you know the answer to that question. Please answer out loud. That's right. You felt that only because that's the meaning you already had given to your parents usually being angry at you when you were able to get their full attention. Let me help you make this real. Imagine that I had been there when you were a little child, and it helped you realize there were alternative interpretations. And after that conversation, you concluded, the danger didn't come from someone paying attention to me or focus on me. It came from my parents' behavior when they paid attention to me. Here's what I'd like you to do now. Take a moment and really imagine being a child. And as a child, your parents were usually angry at you when you were able to get their full attention. As you imagine the events, apply this different interpretation to their behavior. Notice how it feels to be a child who's thinking, the danger didn't come from someone paying attention to me or focusing on me. It came from my parents' behavior when they paid attention to me. You can use the pause button below to pause the video while you make these childhood scenarios more real for yourself. When you're done imagining, press the play button. As you imagine this scene, does it still feel like your parents' words and actions are making you feel it's dangerous to have people focus on me? Probably not. And if you didn't feel it's dangerous to have people focus on me then, Would you feel it now? Again, the answer is no. So mom and dad's behavior never caused you to feel it's dangerous to have people focus on me. That feeling came from your interpretation of their behavior. It's clear now that your feelings were not caused by events in reality. They were only the result of a meaning you made up to explain the events. So is it real that the feelings you had when your parents' full attention was usually accompanied by annoyance or anger didn't tell you anything at all about what will happen when other people pay attention to you later in life? They didn't, did they? Okay, now take a deep breath, let it out slowly, and then say out loud, it's dangerous to have people focus on me, or whatever word you originally used. Is it the truth? Does it still feel like the truth? Your answer is very important here. Take another deep breath and say, it's dangerous to have people focus on me, out loud. I'll bet it feels very different when you say these words now than when you said them at the beginning of this exercise. Do these words feel true even a little bit? Unless the belief is 100% gone and the words don't feel true at all, you probably still have the belief. Remember, holding a belief is like being pregnant. You either is or you ain't. There's no sort of. If the belief is still there, it probably still seems like you saw it. Once it no longer seems as if you saw it's dangerous to have people focus on me in those early events, the belief will be gone. So please click the repeat button to repeat that step of the process. If the belief is gone, please click continue. Now that you're clear the belief really is gone, let me congratulate you for eliminating your last belief. You only have a few conditionings to eliminate, and your lack of self-confidence, your need for others to accept and approve of you, will be totally gone for good. I'll bet you already can see a big change in your feelings and behavior. The little voice that criticizes you is almost gone. Your self-doubt is barely noticeable. You are rarely concerned with what others think of you. You've just eliminated the last belief that was standing in the way of full self-confidence and not being concerned with what others think of you. Now, to totally get rid of that dual problem, you have to decondition 4 situations that have been conditioned to create some level of anxiety or fear. They are fear associated with being criticized or judged, fear associated with not meeting the expectations of others, fear associated with people putting their full attention on you, and fear associated with being rejected. The deconditioning process is very short, about 6 to 8 minutes. Before you move on to your first deconditioning, I suggest you revisit the process, who am I really? It's liberating to feel that anything is possible and that you have no limitations. Now you can either click, who am I really? Click next conditioning to get rid of your first to 4 conditionings, or close this program. Then make a note to yourself when you plan to return and resume the program.